Okay, welcome back to the Workshop Handyman. We're going to be doing a little woodworking project today, and it's going to be on a what they call a puzzle board. I've never heard of one. The wife has come up with this request, and so we're going to see if we can build one. She gave me something that kind of resembles what she thinks we ought to have, and so we're going to go ahead and see if we can actually build something. I don't think I really want to follow plans because there really isn't a whole lot, as you'll see. So anyways, this is what she's handed me. Is a picture. This is a puzzle board. It's just got a couple drawers underneath it, and then the puzzle will go up on the top, and we'll have to figure out what to do with that. About the only thing I see that kind of shows me a little bit about the dimension. That's probably close enough. And down here it says that 1,500 piece should be someplace around 23 by 33, and there's a couple other ones there also. So what we're going to need is at least a piece of, looks like a piece of luan or plywood of some form. I've just got some stuff laying around here. And then we'll need a lot of little wombis and such, a little bit of trim around it, a couple of knobs on the front drawers, and we should be able to make that work. So what I did find is I have some old rough cut cedar. I love cedar, so I think I'm going to make all the door slides and the sides off of this. It looks a little bit rough right now. So we'll go ahead and we'll make this into something, and then we'll get it cut down and get it sized, and adds a little bit of work to it. I could just use a little pieces of 1x4 pine and pre-finished, and that would work too. I did find a piece of luan, and I think that'll work fine. It's got a nice slick surface to it. It's plenty large enough to get that size out of it. I believe this thing is about almost 24, 25 inches. If I had that piece of wood out of the way, you'd be able to see it at least. Yeah, 25 and a half. So I'll try to make this I don't know, 25 or something, nice even measurement. And then I think it said about 30 some inches, and this is 4 foot long. So we have plenty to work with there. We'll cut that off, use whatever's left. We'll also need another piece of this to do on the bottom, because we'll have to have the drawers in the middle, and then we'll have to have drawer bottoms. I do have another piece here. I think we can use that as at least the parts for the drawer. I may have to find another piece of this other one for the very base, or get something to put on the bottom. If it's not this, it'll be something else, maybe something a little more solid. So we'll see what we find for that. So I don't know. We're just going to kind of wing it and see how it goes from there. So the first step, we'll go ahead and set up the planer and see if we can run these rough cut through here and get an actual dimension. I'd like to get it to about 3/4 of an inch thick. It looks like it's a little big on that right now. So we're going to have, let's see what it does measure here. Looks like, yeah, we're right at a 1 inch. So we have a pretty good bit to work with. They're all about the same. They were all cut and milled out, or rough cut out the same tree. So we'll go ahead and run those through the planer, run them through the sander, and then get them smoothed out. We'll probably have to run them through the joiner eventually, and of course cut them up on the table saw. So let me go ahead and get set up with the planer. We'll go ahead and take this and set it up. Now, of course, I've got a lot of stuff. You don't need to use all the big equipment I'm using. One, if you're doing it for your home, it's very easy to buy wood that's already made up and trimmed out and finished wood. This you can cut on you can cut this with a jigsaw, a skill saw, a table saw. I just happen to have a panel saw, So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And I think we decided we wanted that to be 33 inches. So we're going to go ahead and set that up right at, let's see if we can get it for you, 33 inches. And we should be able to do that. That'll give us our length. So we'll go ahead and set this up and see what we can do. Okay, so we'll be 33 inches, I believe is what our size was, and 23 inches, and I think I'm gonna make that just a little bit bigger. So we're gonna go ahead and, let's see, we decided that this was, how big, 25 and a half. I don't know why we couldn't use 25 and a half. So what we wanna do when we set this up, I think, is that we want the drawers, I guess, to come in from the side. I think I want a ridge around this edge, these two edges, this front side. I don't think we want anything on top, I think, because if you want to get the puzzle out of there, you're going to have a slick surface is what I'm thinking. I don't know, I'm kind of just thinking in my head how I'd put this puzzle together and then get it off of here if I wanted to. So I think what I'll do is I'll build a frame for this. And across the back side, it'll have drawers coming in, one way or the other. I guess I better kind of figure out which way that I want to do. Have the drawers coming in. I think the plans kind of show it coming in on the sides. So might have to just build some blocks and then come back and put a cap on top of this, because otherwise we're going to have it blocked off. So I think that's what we're probably going to do. So we'll just probably cut a bunch of them. The thickness I want my drawer, which is probably 1 inch, and that'll give me enough room to put a 3/4 inch board with a piece of plywood on the bottom of it to make the drawer bottom. And that's kind of my thought process. This is how I go through it. I don't have directions. You just kind of figure it as you go. So let me go ahead and cut some little blocks and make sure I'm thinking right. Okay, I think I've got this figured out. I've got my top piece of plywood. I went ahead and found another piece of plywood that'll go up underneath it. I've cut both of these the same size, so we are 33 by 25 and a half. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some strips this direction, 2 of them, 1 for each side, 1 down through the middle, and that'll give us 2 drawers on this side, 2 drawers on this side. And then we'll take this and top it off and put a piece of trim here to keep the puzzle from sliding off. And we'll use this as the edge to allow it to come off if we need to. So we'll just go ahead and cut these 33 inches. I'll need 3 of those. So we'll rip those down on the table saw. And then we'll be ready and put 1 across here. Once we get that done, we'll piece a couple in and we'll figure out where the center is on that. So for right now, we're just going to take a piece of the cedar, and I think I'm going to make that approximately 1 inch wide on the saw for this side, and then approximately 3/4 of an inch thick when I got done. If yours was factory, then it would have been approximately 3/4 of an inch. So that should do it. Let me set up my table saw and see if we can cut these down about 1 inch. Okay, we've cut the 3 boards to set this down, and so it looks like we'll be able to get enough out of that and leave spaces for our drawers. And we'll cut one of them in half so that the drawer has something to stop against here, and it'll also support this top. And of course, this is really we're not going to put it on that one yet. We're going to put this actually will be the top of it, and these will go on the bottom. This, and that'll give us, and that'll come on top, and that'll give us our space here for our little drawers. So next I'll cut these into exact lengths of this. So So we'll set us up a little something to do that with. I'll need a pencil to do that, and we'll chop those. Okay, for this we're going to set this up on a chop saw, and we'll go ahead and do 33 inches on each one of these. So we'll start out squaring off the one edge, and then get to exactly 33. Put a small clamp on that, make sure it stays. And now I know my cuts will all be exactly the same. Take these pieces back over here and see if we can make these work on the other side. So we should be good to set these down. There. This will go in the middle, and this will go on the far edge over here. And that's a good fit there. So we'll figure out what the halfway of this is and set that one directly in the center. So it's 25 and a half. So another trick here, if you wanted to, if you're 25 and a half and you're trying to have a struggle on exactly what the center of that would be, there's a real easy way to do that. You put your tape measure on, always read from the same side of the tape measure. You put it on a dimension that you can cut in half real easily. In this particular case, so you don't mess it up, I put mine on 30, and I know that half of 30 is 15, so I can mark the 15 point, and then I know for sure that halfway is 12 3/4, and from this side it's 12 3/4. So that's an easy way to make sure you don't mess up the halfway point. So if we're going to do that, we want to make sure these boards are all the same size, so it shouldn't really matter. I don't know if I have one that I really like the looks of better than the other or not. I don't think so. So we'll go ahead and put this into the center. And then we'll have another thing we can do on this, just to make sure that we're good. We want to know the total distance between these two. So if we do that, we take these three and put them together. Exactly as they're going to go in here. So that gives us all the space we're going to take up. We know that we want to make this total width the width of this, which is 25 and a half. So if we do that, we can put our tape measure at 25 and a half here, and we know that we can now read on this side of the tape, we need to come up with 22 and a half inches worth of spacing. So that would be enough to do that. So you cut your 22 and a half in half. So it'd be 11 1/4 inches is what we would need for each side of this to work out properly. So 11 1/4. And we'll go ahead and cut a couple of those to put in the middle. And see if my little trick there helped make this work. So let me take this back to the chop saw. We'll cut those. Okay, so go ahead, and we want 11 1/4. So let's move these back and see if it's somewhat close to what we actually need here. So we'll be, that one goes there, that one goes in the middle, that one goes here, this one should go here, and this one should go here, and we're right on the money for the size on that. So that little trick worked out just fine, and that gives us our layout for our drawers right there. So we will need to measure this now and find out what the halfway point is, because we do want to have that done up. So we're 33, so half of that's 16 1/2, and I dropped that right dead on 16 1/2. So we can mark that out, and this is, we ended up cutting that 1 inch. So we can go 16 1/2, and then we'll be half of that because it's a 1 inch, so it'd be 16 inches should be on each side of this. So 16 there, and 16 here. It's going to be exactly halfway point when we go to fit all these together. So that's how we laid that out, and our drawer will come in here. So we'll have to do at this point, I think, is to, I'm going to sand these down, make sure they're all exactly the same thickness, make sure the edges look good, make sure I didn't get any of them twisted or spun, because some of these I think ended up being a little bit thicker than the others, so I might have to shove them back through the planer or the joiner real quick. Make sure everything is exactly the same height. These look good. This one looks like it's off just a little bit. This one looks like a little thinner than the rest of them. So let me look at that a little bit. But that's the basic layout, and then we'll go ahead and glue it and staple it back on there, or nail it back on and hold it in place. Okay, I had to take a break there because one, my shop's not climate controlled, so it's a little chilly out, but it was so cold that I couldn't do any gluing, so I had to stop. And so we picked it back up today. And what we're going to finish off with, after we've got all the pieces cut and they're placed on this is the back panel, bottom, and then our drawers will, of course, sit in here. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to simply add a little bit of glue to each of these, glue them down, and then I'm going to use just a little stapler, and we'll staple that from the bottom, and that'll hold it in place until the glue dries. And we'll set our other piece on top of it. And that'll get us our basic frame. So we're going to go ahead and glue this up real quick. And we don't need a lot of glue, just a little bit scoot down through here. And then you can use your finger to spread it around, or I've got a little brush and I just need enough to get it. I don't want the glue to run out onto the other parts too much because it's I don't want it to interfere with the drawers. So we'll set that one on there and line it up, and that should get that. And we're just going to bring this to the outside edge a minute, and I need to turn my air on. And then we'll just shoot a couple of staples in from the bottom. And that'll hold it in place right where I want it. There we go. And we just move to the next one. We've got this laid out approximately where it needs to go. So we will need to ensure that that stays in place. I guess I should have had my tape measure and stuff over here before I started filming. But anyways, so we have decided that this is going to be about 16 inches down. So we want to go ahead and probably mark this off at 16. And this one is already marked at 16. So we'll go ahead and roll this and glue this one up. I do like these little glue containers. They're a lot better than regular glue jugs that you buy. And like I say, it don't take a whole lot. You don't want a lot everywhere, so we'll set that in place. And push it down. And we'll do the same thing here again. I'm going to put a staple in this one from the back side. We'll staple that middle when I determine exactly where that's at from the back side. But for right now, we'll go ahead and glue this up too. And I think that pretty much gives you the idea what we have to do on this. So we'll go ahead and place that right where it needs to be. The only thing we need to do here is make sure that our distance here is that same amount, 11 1/4, I believe is what we said that was. Yes, it's 11 1/4 on this particular one, which will put us right in the center. So we can swing that around here a little bit and put a staple in that one. And we'll do the same thing on this end, making sure it's 11 1/4. We want our drawers to fit good in here, so we want to keep them all the same. All right. And then here again, we'll need to measure down that same amount we had here, the 16 inches, and we'll put a pencil mark on this end. And a pencil mark on this end. And then we'll be able to line this up pretty darn close. We may not staple it right yet, just because we have to put this last one in place. 16 there. And that's going to be approximately right where it needs to go. And then we'll glue this one. Flip that over and set it in place. Lining up my marks. And here again, we'll line this up with the edge. And we'll put a little staple in that. There. And one in the middle. And then we'll get the center one here centered back up. And we'll put a staple in that one. Alrighty. So, and now we'll go ahead, and we know that this is 16 inches to that, so we want to come in 16 1/2 inches. And I'll put 2 more staples in that one. So we'll flop this over, and we'll go 16 1/2 inches down here. And we'll put a staple in that one, should hit it. And over here and do the same thing. And that should keep them from moving. And so we've got our bottom is ready to go. So after we get that done, now we'll just take the top and we'll set it right up on it. And we'll be able to glue this all up at one time and then set it on top of it and put a couple staples in it. I believe that's, yes. So just a quick bead of caulk, or glue, I mean. This is just regular stay-on glue that I'm putting on here, nothing fancy, and it doesn't need to be. So spread that around a little bit. I'm saying I don't think you have to worry about getting full surface covered or anything like that with glue. This is nothing real structural about it. So just a little bit of glue. I'd rather have it not all over the place. And we're plenty wide on our little boards here, so we've got plenty for it to stick to. I would probably worry more about the ends, maybe the edges a little bit. But we're going to trim all that, I think, anyways. So it shouldn't matter. And it'll be stapled also in place. So it shall have plenty of strength to hold it where it needs to be. Okay. And we set this up on top of it, trying to drop it in place pretty close to where it needs to be the first time. Line up our edges. Like that. That looks good. Right there. And we'll just pop a couple staples in this one also. So we start here. Our center piece, we're just going to run one down the center, I think. I don't want to fill this with a lot of staple holes. So I think I'm not going to do a whole lot out in the middle. I think I'll leave that kind of where it is. And I'll just set something heavy on that, enough to hold it down and let it glue in place. If it seems like it's weak after that, then we'll have to add a couple staples, but I think it'll be fine. So I'm going to just add some weight on that, and we'll get started on building the drawers. Okay, so for our drawers, what we have left is we've got this hole, of course, is 11 1/4, and we want to measure this to see how thick it was, and it's it ended up really it's about 7/8 of an inch. So we want to make sure that the drawer slides in there fairly tight, but not too tight, and we'll need 4 of them. So we'll just take some more of our wood and make us a small little frame, allow for the luan that'll be underneath it, which is going to be the 1/8 inch luan. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut that up to make that, I'm not going to make it a full depth of that. I'll probably only make it 15 inches or so, because we got a total depth of 16. I'll make it 15, that way it don't hang out too far, I think. So I think that's what we'll do. And I think if we look at our piece of wood, we might have that anyways. It's about 12 inches. So we'll go ahead. This direction is 12 1/4, so we'll cut that down to make it a little bit less. We're going to make it 11 inches wide. So I'll rip this through the table saw, get it down to 11 inches, and then we'll cut it into 4 pieces, which should be able to make the 4 of them. It's I've got 70 1/2 inches, so whatever that works out at, I think is what we're going to make our drawers for depth. And we'll make it work. So that's where we'll start out next. Okay, we're going to go ahead and this will be our 11 inches. And like I said, we need 4 drawers. So we'll have to split this into 4 pieces. And if we did that, we're at not quite 6 foot. So if we're doing, and we wanted the maximum of, what did I say this was? 15. Let's go 15 and a half. So let's just do 15 and a half. How does that work out? 15 and a half is 31 and 31. So that'll give us plenty. So we're going to go ahead and set this up over on the other saw, and we'll cut those at 15 and a half, and we'll be in good shape. So let's go to, we're going to just swap us around here, and we'll go ahead and do the, this cut on the radio arm saw will work out fine for me. And we can use the scale on this. So 15 and a half, open up our gate. And 15 and a half. And 4. Okay, so that gives us our 4 drawer bottoms. Now we'll just calculate how tall to make our little sides to hold it. So that'll be our next step. All right, so if we're going to do that, what we'll want to do, we don't mess anything up, of course. These should slide right in here nice and easily, and they do. And that gives us just a little bit of space in here. So if we do a measure on that, we're looking, we can get away with someplace around 3/8 inch tall, which is all we really need. So we'll try to do 3/8 tall by, I don't know. We don't really need 3/4, so maybe a 1/2 inch or something. So we'll have to make us some 3/8 thick pieces of cedar, I think. We'll cut those down and make those, maybe run them through the planer and get them down to 3/8 of an inch thick, and then we can be able to rip them into the pieces to go around the edge. So let's go with that. Okay, and we're getting this set up. I think I misspoke on that. I needed 5/8, not 3/8 on this. So we're going to shove this through one more time and see if we can get this down to 5/8. And we'll do a quick dry fit on this to see if it's enough room. It is, but I think it's a little tighter than I want to do, so I'm going to go a little bit more on this. Let's see if we can catch just a bit more. And as we look at that, I think that fits in there nice. Not too much gap. This will be a fairly tight fit, so I think we're good. Now, I don't know if I got enough of it or not, but we'll cut this up into a lot of little pieces. And if I need to, I'll plane some more down later. But each one of these, like I say, that's probably going to need, I don't know, a 1/2 inch wide or so. So we'll probably set the table saw up at a 1/2 inch and just rip this as much as I can, and then we'll find what we have left for parts, I think. So let's go ahead and set this up to 1/2 inch and see what that looks like. And yes, I spend a lot of time running around trying to keep the dust collection set up. I think it does fairly good for the most part, but it does take a little bit of running around when you have a big shop. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and let's see what the 1/2 inch pieces look like. That's going to sit on there just like that, I think, just perfect. Get a different push stick though. I do like my one here. It'll run right alongside the blade and keep my fingers out of the way a little better. Crowded on my table here. Let me back some of that off. This is the bad part about cutting all this stuff up. It doesn't quite have the pattern to stick together well. Maybe I can get a little more piece out of this. I think that's about all we'll get out of that one. Let's see if we can take the other one and get a little bit out of this one now. Okay, that gives us a fair amount of them. I don't know if that's going to be enough or not. So we'll have to start cutting, and we'll just see what happens from there. We'll calculate how many of them we need, and this will be just kind of a tedious thing. I think I do want to, when I cut these, I think I do want to put little 45s on here, and so that we won't have any end grains going, and then simply glue them onto there and staple them on just like we did the other piece. Makes the little drawers. So we'll do a quick calculation on that. So we have 4 drawers, so we know that we'll need 4 pieces, or well, 2 of one length on each drawer, so that'd be 8. 8 of them are going to have to be 15.5 inches long, and then 8 of them will have to be 11 inches long. So that's what we'll set our jig up at and cut those. Okay, so as I say, we're going to do 15.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead, set it up on my chop saw. We're going to set this. I put a 45 on that end, and we're 15.5 inches from that stop to here. So we'll go ahead and cut this one, and we'll be able to just make all of them the same. So it should be a pretty easy process. And I'm going to make sure that my size is exactly correct before I do that. And that is perfect right there. So they'll sit on there just like that. So we'll go ahead and make as many of those as we can, and then we'll come back and do the other half. So we just simply rotate them and cut them. And keep a count of how many we have. Three. So we've got enough to do 2. That's enough to do 3 drawers. So we need to do 1 more. That looks a little rough. Let's see if we can do this one. And okay, that's all of them for the lengths. And now we need to go the other direction, which was just shy of 11 inches. So we'll set this back up again. See if I can find me an 11-inch piece, which this one is. So that'll need to be 11 inches. We'll mark that. And we'll set that up to hit on the saw. Right there. Move our stop up. We'll go ahead and cut this one. And we'll verify that that length is a good length. And it is. So we'll need 8 of those. Might be a challenge to get that. Let's see how we make out with it. don't like the looks of all of that, so I'm gonna have to skip part of that, I think. Let's do it right to that. I think I'm ready. 1, 2, 3. And that one ain't any good either, I don't think. So that left me 1, 2, 3. I am 1 piece shy. And this is all I've got for scrap left over. Do I have anything that's 11? That's no good. Looks like I'm gonna have to find me one more little piece of scrap. Boy, I was close. So we'll go ahead and plane one more down and make it up. Okay. What we are going to do now, got all the pieces. I ended up actually having enough of the other one to find another little scrap off of one of those. So now we'll put the drawers together, and I have them laid out. And I think all I'm going to do is just add a little drop of glue to each of these. And I'll set them right back in place. And let's say if I had just a little bit smaller nail, I'd probably add a nail to this, but I do not have, so what I'm going to do is just glue them like I am, and I think they'll be fine. A little bit of glue holds pretty good. And I like to do both surfaces. Like I say, you don't want so much it squeezes out all over the place. So we'll set them in place, kind of just put them where they're going to go. Not that they're going to stick yet, but we want to get those all glued. We got the basic shape here. What I'm going to do is just run a little tiny bead of glue all the way around this top edge. And we'll go ahead and nail this out. After we get a little bit of glue on all of it. Just run your finger down it real quick. Once we get that in place, we can kind of set them back in place. And then we simply take our other board and kind of get it close to where it needs to be. Drop it on, and you can kind of just line up the edge, start one corner. And I'm just, like I say, going to use my little staple gun to hold them in place again. And just work your way around the whole drawer bottom. And it should, with all the measurements made right, you should be able to come right around the circle, and it should all be right exactly where they need to be when you get done. And once you get those in there, flip it over, and there's our drawer. And it's ready to go. So we'll just continue to do that with the other ones, and that'll have them ready to put some little handles on them, sand them down a little bit, and we'll ready to see if they're going to actually fit in the holes. Okay, we've got all 4 of the drawers now built. They will need some sanding. We'll go ahead and run a sander over those. And then on the rest of the project, I think what we're going to do, and what I'd like to do, is we're going to set this up to We need to add a board on this side, this side, this side, and then we'll leave the front edge open. So I think I'm going to take this next piece and I'm going to make something about 1 inch wide that'll run around this, and that'll kind of just make a border so the puzzle won't fall off, except for the front edge where you'll be able to get it off if we want to. So we're going to go ahead and set the table saw up, rip this down into 3 pieces, then we'll just cut them to length and get them ready to go on. So let's see if we can just set back up. And we're at 1 inch. And I'll need 3 pieces. One more. Okay. Now this should be fine to put on here. It's really a little bit bigger. I think I almost want to maybe cut this down instead of having it there. Maybe cut it and let it lip over that just a little bit, just to kind of cover that edge. So if we do that, we could set that saw up at a height, and I'll just run it through there to groove that out and let it sit with just a little of the edge proud down over it. So let's go ahead and set that up. We'll just want the width of that saw blade. So we'll want to, in order to get that close enough, I could run that through, maybe it'd be faster to run it through my router. Let me set up my router. We'll just go ahead and do it on that, I think. We've got one set up pretty close anyways. We'll just do a small bit on here, and we'll just run them through there, and that ought to take care of it pretty quick and easy. So let's set up and do that. Okay, so I've set my router up. We're going to go ahead and, well, we can see that. It's a little dark back in here. We can turn on a little bit more light. So we're going to go ahead and run this through, and we're going to take off. Got it marked out here a little bit. Just, well, that's on focus. Anyways, we're going to take that little piece out. There we go. On the left-hand side there. And let that roll around there. We're going to go ahead and route this one off and see if it's going to look all right. And then we'll do the remainder of them. So we'll go ahead and fire it up. Okay, let's see if this is going to get us close to what we want. We're going to go ahead, and what the idea would be is to set this on top of that, just like that. And I think we want to set it in a little bit further. So I think I'm going to set this router just a little bit further, get it in a little bit closer so it don't stick out so far. but I think I like that. That's going to look all right. So we'll go ahead and set that up and route those off and see if we can make that look good. Okay, so I've got those three routed. Let's see if we can give you a good look at the profile that we got on it. And you can see that, yeah, my camera just gave up. So we can kind of give you the profile of it. Kind of there. And that, of course, will allow that to set right in there. So you can see how that's going to do. If you come up here, and it'll wrap around that. And then this one will come around and wrap around that. And we'll just simply put this on a 45-degree angle. So I'll go cut these up on the saw and just simply piece those together on the two corners. And then on the other end, we'll just square cut that one off. And see how that looks. Okay, we've got these pieces all cut to this length. And really the only thing that's going to be left now is to do a lot of sanding probably. Not real bad shape, but it'll need it. And all my drawers. The last part of the drawers is going to be to put a knob on them. So what I'm planning on doing here, if I can get the camera to shine down a little bit, maybe, is we've got some little knobs, and we're just simply going to find the halfway point, get me a drill, and drill a hole in there, and we'll set that in, and that'll give us a way to pull the drawer back out. We should be in good shape. I had these laying around, just kind of a nice little ceramic knob, so I think it'll work just fine, look good, and we'll get the sanding and all done and show you how it looks at the end. Okay, so we decided after we had that all cut, we went ahead and sanded down these top boards, and we've just glued them on. So I think that'll probably hold everything together pretty good, and always good to use lots of clamps. So I think we've got it clamped down pretty well, and we'll see how all that holds up. Like I say, we're going to go ahead and finish that. We've got the hole drilled. I just marked the halfway point and drilled holes in all these. So we'll sand those down, put the knobs on them, and we should be in pretty good shape. It's almost starting to look like a project. Okay, we've got it all put together. Looks pretty good, I think. Sanded. And the drawers all work. They look good. So, easy to open and close. I think it has a pretty nice look to it. Like I say, I started out with this. That's approximately a 1,500 piece puzzle. I don't know if that's really going to be accurate or not. I know that I've looked at the 1,000 piece puzzles. They very easily fit in here. But I didn't really see a whole lot of 1,500 piece puzzles, so I don't know exactly what size they in reality would be. But this will do a 1,000 piece puzzle quite easily. So that, I don't know if I had a whole lot more to add. Let's go on to another project, and please like, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up if you like this project. It does help me out a little bit if you do that. See you on the next one.